we've been heading in this direction for a while, and so it should not be any surprise to anyone that 2022 marks the year in which Samsung has officially run out of fancy ideas. It's convenient that this also dovetails perfectly with most of the world, other than like the people who get paid to talk about phones, not giving a crap about whatever phone Samsung is putting out in the Galaxy S line this year. There are many factors that have come together to bring us to this moment, not the smallest of which being the lack of any real innovation in smartphones over the last few years. I mean, Samsung's not alone. There's not really anything all that exciting about a smartphone. I mean, when the most exciting thing that you can think of to do with a smartphone is folded in half, then you've run out of ideas, okay? Smartphones have been becoming less and less interesting for a few years now, but this is the first year I can truly say that there's nothing at all about the Galaxy S line that really merits any excitement beyond the acknowledgement that they exist. The S22 and the S22 Plus are so unremarkable that there's no reason to mention them other than the cursory spec rundown. And when you do that cursory spec rundown, you are even more disappointed. They look exactly like last year's phones, and I wouldn't blame anyone for mistaking them for last year's phones. There's truly nothing new. 1080p screens, 120 hertz refresh rate, respectable battery, 3,700 and 4,500 milliamp hours respectively. Half an inch separates them in screen size, 6.1 versus 6.6 inches. And speaking of the battery and screen sizes, they're actually smaller than last year's models. The same storage options on these phones as last year. The only real differences here are iterative. A newer processor from Qualcomm, Snapdragon 8, whatever. Who cares? It's still benchmarks behind last year's iPhone 13 and Android 12, which last year's phone's going to get anyway. If you have last year's phone, if you have the year before's phone, if you have the year before's phone, there's really nothing. So if your phone hasn't been run over by a truck or something like that, try to hold out for another year in the hopes that Samsung becomes inspired. Or go buy the S21 models before they run out of stock. You'll get a bigger screen, bigger battery, it'll be upgraded to Android 12, and you'll pay like half of the price of what these S22 phones are. The only model that's really worth talking about this year is the S22 Ultra, which, like the S21 Ultra before it, is the only one of these phones that I would call premium. I mean, they're all flagship level, but this is the only one that I really feel like it's worth spending any time discussing. You've got a bigger screen, better resolution, bigger battery, more storage options, more RAM options. I think it's up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, no SD card slot or anything like that. Pretty much the same cameras again as the last one, but they're better than the ones that are in the two lower end models. What makes this year's model worth talking about is that it's really now the Galaxy Note folded into the Galaxy S line. See what I did there? It has the S Pen of Galaxy Note fame stuck into its nether regions, and its design mimics the more squared off design of the Notes of the past few years. The S21 also had S Pen support, although it didn't come standard with the phone. It didn't have a hole in the butt to stick it in. You had to get a case with the pen, and the pen like stuck to the side. I had that case. I had that phone. And one thing that I liked about that particular S Pen was that it was bigger than the little S Pens that get stuck into the phone. So I could use it. It was easier to use. Now, you can look at this in two ways. Cool, the S Pen is in the S22 Ultra, yay. Or the Galaxy Note is dead, really dead. DED, not coming back, despite what this time last year Samsung promised us. Galaxy Note is not coming back. The S22 Ultra is the Galaxy Note. I don't care what promises any company makes. Promises from companies are worth about as much as the paper that they're printed on, and we all know that no one uses paper anymore. But I do think it's a tragedy that the Note is dead. Maybe in the larger scheme of things, we haven't really lost anything. The S22 Ultra is pretty much the Note in everything but name. Still, the Note series was the first Android phone that I really got excited about. It was different than what was out at the time. Samsung went out on a limb with these phones. They tried something different. Not that Styli were new. I mean, there was a Palm Pilot and all that kind of stuff. styli had been around before. Just ask Newton. But people laughed at the size of the Note. It was comically large for the time, and everybody was like, nobody's going to use that loaf of bread on their ear. But it became very successful. And I would argue that's where Samsung sort of broke through in the Android market. It's what separated them from the Android pack at that time. They were the first to go big, and it worked out really well for them. They differentiated themselves, and I think that helped them become, what they are today. And now, after Samsung has vanquished LG and so many other companies out there, they've folded it into the S line. The S line has always been the phone that was for everybody. It wasn't super fancy or anything like that. It's gotten better over the years, but the Note was really the phone for the enthusiast, the power user, however you want to say it. And now it's just an S phone. And maybe it doesn't matter. Like I say, the S22 Ultra is probably everything that the Note 22 would be, and maybe that's okay. But being able to say that helps make my overall point even more. Samsung's phones, and phones in general really, have become so bland to this point that they can fold what was once their most forward-looking line into their most bland, basic flagship, and it doesn't make any real difference in the end. Pour one out for the Note series, I guess. And while you're at it, pour one out for the excitement that we tech geeks used to enjoy every year when the time came around for a new phone to be announced by Samsung or, any of the other manufacturers that don't make phones anymore. It's hard to spin these new phones as anything but retreads of last year's models. Even the S22 Ultra is still a retread of the S21 Ultra with the S Pen stuck up inside of it. I guess one thing you could say is the battery capacity is still the same on the S22 Ultra as it was on the S21, and they still had room for the S Pen. That's something. For the first time, there are no new whiz-bang features that you just have to sell your old phone for to go out and get this new phone. It's not faster. It's not giant leaps forward in screen technology. The storage is all the same. The camera tech in all the phones matches the camera tech from last year. I mean, the screens, they're still 120 hertz. They're not 240. They're not 360. They're not 480. They're just 120. It's the same phone, different year. We continue the slow decline of the smartphone from cutting-edge tech that was, on the lips of every tech enthusiast to another version of the same thing. It's almost like talking about this year's new refrigerator model compared to last year's new refrigerator model. Maybe it makes ice cubes slightly faster, but nobody cares. Once again, the biggest news in the smartphone world is what we've lost, the Galaxy Note line, not what we've gained, which is nothing. If you need a new phone, and I mean need, not want, but need, I'm sure the S22 line's going to be just fine. I feel like I've already used it since I had last year's S21. If you don't absolutely need a new phone, there's no reason to make a trip to Best Buy to even check these out. There's just nothing to them at all. I mean, you already know what they are because if you bought a phone within the last couple of years, you've already had one. Anyway, thanks so much for being here. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. We'll have a boisterous discussion as always. Once again, I hope that you'll like and subscribe and bell notify yourself so that you can keep abreast of all of the tech stuff that I'm going to talk about here over the next several weeks. There's videos over here that you can click right now that will be of interest to you if you were interested in this one. I appreciate your time and effort, and until the next time, I'm out.